the incoming whip of the Congressional Black Caucus, Representative Hakeem Jeffries. It's good to see you, Congressman. I want to show what happened on the floor of Congress because it's become somewhat of an issue with the St. Louis Rams and protests going around the country. Here you are.
Don't shoot.
You got your hands up. It was the beginning of the speech that you made. You weren't the only member of Congress to put your hands up. What is the point of that?
Well, we wanted to make sure that we gave voice to the fact that there are people all across the country for whom hands up, don't shoot has become a symbol of their resistance to the fact that too many young, unarmed African Americans have been killed by police officers all across the country, by the fact that we have a broken criminal justice system that far too often fails to deliver accountability to police officers who engage in the use of excessive force, and that we still have a racial profiling problem in America that needs to be resolved. And so we wanted to make sure that people all across the country who have been taking part in this movement understand that we as members of the Congressional Black Caucus hear their pain, and we plan on acting upon it here in the United States Capitol.
And just for a little different spin on that in terms of a point of the criticism that it receives, the Michael Brown case was decided by the grand jury, therefore put up your hands, don't shoot, is now based on lies because that case was decided, the issue should be over. What do you say to that perspective?
Well, 16 of 18 witnesses before the grand jury indicated that in their view, Michael Brown had his hands up at the moment in which he was fatally shot. The grand jury has made its decision. Many of us disagree with the decision. We believe that at least there was probable cause to charge this officer with involuntary manslaughter. But hands up, don't shoot is really a gesture that symbolizes concern all across America with the way in which law enforcement departments engage communities of color, often in a far too aggressive fashion, often in violation of the Constitution and of individual civil rights.
What do you think about the St. Louis police insisting that they received an apology from the St. Louis Rams for their players putting up the hands up, don't shoot, when the team says there was no apology? How do you make sense of what's going on there?
Well, I support the football players who decided to enter the field and make this gesture of solidarity. I understand why some in law enforcement may disagree with that. This is ultimately an issue that has to be worked out between the St. Louis Rams and local law enforcement. And I believe that the problem that really should be focused on is how to make sure we improve the relationship between the police and the community.
You worried about demonizing police? As you know, there are a lot of good men and women who are cops out there trying to keep communities safer. How do you balance?
Well, we want to make sure that there's an effective balance between law enforcement on the one hand, being able to keep our communities safe, and a respect for the Constitution and our civil rights. And there can be that appropriate balance. We embrace law enforcement. We want law enforcement, particularly in communities of color and those that experience higher rates of criminal activity. We just want to make sure that people are policed in a constitutional way, in a way that's fair and equitable, and that when excessive force is used, police officers are held accountable.
You know, we had the head of the International Association of Chiefs of Police on the show earlier today, and he said, you know, hey, community policing, that's a good idea. We seem to have gotten away from that a little bit. How did we ever get to a place where we got away from the idea of police interacting with the communities that they protect?
It's a very good question, Chris, and I think that what happened is as a result of some of the budget cuts that took place over the last several years, police department resources were increasingly strained, and departments moved away